red, my nigga. Cold red. They caught me slipping. I need to know, turkey or no turkey. And I ain't talking about no cheese sandwich. It's some real shit, bro.
It started like a joke between two players. A harmless live stream moment about hairlines and turkey. But by the end of that week, Jaylen Brown had done what no one in the NBA had dared before. He called out LeBron James, not for basketball, but for his connection to the one man now sitting behind bars and unable to protect him, Sean Diddy Combs. What seemed like a punchline has turned into a scandal threatening to pull one of the biggest athletes on the planet into the same legal and moral storm that destroyed a music empire. And Jaylen isn't backing down. He says he's done laughing.
LeBron James, the Lakers head coach, saying he is out for personal reasons. It's an excused absence. However, social media trying to connect it to a resurfaced clip where James joined Diddy Combs on a live stream and said, quote, "Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party." I think that went viral. I remember when he said that years ago.
When Diddy was sentenced in October to more than 4 years in federal prison for his role in a criminal operation involving coercive private encounters and transportation across state lines, most celebrities distanced themselves immediately. But LeBron stayed quiet. For months, he refused to speak, even as old videos resurfaced, showing him celebrating with Diddy, praising his infamous parties, and saying the now viral line, "Ain't no party like a Diddy party." At the time, nobody thought much of it. Now, with Diddy's so-called freak-off gatherings being cited in multiple federal documents, that silence sounds different. Insiders close to the Celtic star claimed Jaylen Brown's Twitch stream where he joked about calling LeBron for hairline advice wasn't just humor. He was baiting LeBron to answer, to engage, to slip. When LeBron ignored him, Brown reportedly told teammates that the king was scared to talk because his man's locked up. 2 days later, Brown doubled down, telling friends off camera that people don't even know half of what Braun did with Puff. The timing was no coincidence. Diddy's sentencing had just wrapped. The FBI had announced a new round of sealed indictments linked to his entertainment network. And one of those sealed filings, according to court reporters, mentioned professional athletes with financial or personal ties to Combs Enterprises.
Sources told the Post that Jones sent a message to one of the betting ring members on February 9, 2023, urging him to place a large bet on the Lakers' opponent, the Milwaukee Bucks, because James would be out with an injury that night.
That's where LeBron's name started to surface again. Quietly at first, then louder when Damon Jones was arrested. Jones isn't just another name in the NBA gambling scandal. He's LeBron's former teammate, workout partner, and the man federal investigators say sold inside information about LeBron's injuries before Lakers games. On February 9, 2023, just 2 days after LeBron broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record, Jones allegedly texted a gambler to get a big bet on Milwaukee tonight because LeBron would sit out with ankle soreness. That tip was never public. The Lakers lost that night, and the betting ring profited. According to prosecutors, Jones made $2,500 off that text alone.
Individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing.
Federal filings make it clear LeBron wasn't charged, but he was the player Jones was talking about. The Justice Department called it unauthorized dissemination of non-public information. To most fans, that sounded technical, but to those following the deeper case, it was a direct line from LeBron's inner circle to an organized gambling network with mafia connections. Some of the same contacts now tied to Diddy's own financial shell operations. When the Eastern District of New York unsealed additional documents in late October, they listed Damon Jones, Chauncey Billups, and Terry Rozier among the 34 arrested. Jones was described as a facilitator between active players and external entities seeking wagering advantages. The details only got uglier. Witnesses said Jones bragged around Las Vegas casinos that he was LeBron's best friend and used that relationship as a business card to get trust from high rollers. He spent nights at the Aria Resort and Casino puffing on expensive cigars, claiming he could get information straight from Bron's camp. That image doesn't square with the LeBron James the world knows, a father, philanthropist, and outspoken advocate for fair play. Yet, it's that contrast that makes Jaylen Brown's allegations hit so hard. By mid-October 2025, just after Diddy's sentencing and the league's gambling arrests, Brown began posting cryptic messages on social media. Clock emojis, cage emojis, and one line that read, "The truth looks different when your bodyguard's gone." Fans thought he was referring to a personal rivalry, but people close to him say he was referring to Diddy's imprisonment into LeBron's alleged vulnerability without his longtime benefactor in the open world. He's alone now, one insider said. All those NDAs don't matter if the people who sign them are getting subpoenas.
The first indictment involves 6 defendants. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams.
We've seen this pattern before. Powerful figures who thrive under loyalty suddenly left exposed when the power dynamic collapses. According to federal sources cited by The Athletic, agents recently reviewed communications between individuals in Diddy's network and figures inside the Lakers organization. While no formal charges have been brought against LeBron, an unconfirmed leak describes him as a person of interest in a separate inquiry related to financial transfers between entertainment ventures and professional sports affiliates. That phrase, person of interest, set the internet ablaze. The NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, visibly disturbed, addressed the gambling scandal just days after these whispers broke. He said there's nothing more important to the league and its fans than the integrity of the competition, but he refused to name LeBron directly when reporters asked whether the league was monitoring the situation. Behind closed doors, however, multiple executives admitted to journalists that no one is untouchable now. That comment came hours before federal agents raided 2 residences in Los Angeles linked to Damon Jones' associates.
Known that I've talked for a while, a lot of people are buzzing that Diddy's former BFFs are real quiet.
And they have been.
And people were wondering why and who's the next to fall. And then Jay-Z comes out, and then LeBron James says, I'm stepping away for excused personal reasons. And people are going, oh, what is going on?
In that same week, a resurfaced photo of LeBron at one of Diddy's private events went viral, this time because of what he was wearing. Social media users called it the maid's dress photo, an image many dismissed as doctored, but the timing was disastrous. It emerged as Diddy's former employees described the ritual humiliation that allegedly took place at his gatherings. The photo reignited speculation about how close LeBron really was to those parties. LeBron's team offered no comment, and his publicist quietly canceled a scheduled interview on an LA radio station. Jaylen Brown, meanwhile, seemed to enjoy every second of it. On a live stream, he said only code red, "They caught me slipping." Fans assumed he was still talking about his hairline, but those who followed the feud closely insist the phrase was a layered jab, a signal that he knew more than the public realized. Days later, he told teammates he'd been advised not to speak further because it's about to get real. The coincidence of that statement with the leaked person of interest note can't be ignored.
Tick tock, the clock is ticking on Diddy because on Friday he finds out what his sentence is going to be, but today he found out what prosecutors would like that sentence to be, and it is vastly different from what his attorneys have suggested to the judge. Prosecutors want him to do 11 years, just over 11.
By late October, sports media started connecting the dots. Diddy imprisoned, Damon Jones indicted, Jaylen Brown taunting LeBron, and the league drowning in a gambling scandal that had already taken down coaches and players. Add to that the resurfaced Diddy-LeBron videos, and suddenly a pattern formed, a network of friendships, favors, and silence. The narrative shifted from isolated scandals to a single web of influence stretching from the music industry's darkest corners to the highest levels of professional basketball. Insiders who once worked for Comey say they've seen names, athletes, executives, performers on internal guest lists now being examined by investigators. One of those names they claim is LeBron James. They describe these lists as insurance leverage Diddy kept in case anyone turned on him. Now that he's behind bars and reportedly targeted by other inmates, those files might become bargaining chips. If prosecutors believe he can offer evidence in exchange for leniency, every contact in his orbit could be revisited.
So he put his hands on females, put his hands on producers, executives. That's just his. I guess that's what the whole name Bad Boy comes from. That people don't really understand. What is it? What is a bad boy? Why did he choose that name? Like he never really gave a clear definition of how he feels about that name. Not yet.
That possibility seems to be what Jaylen Brown is hinting at when he posts messages about the walls closing in. It isn't a joke anymore. Diddy's empire is crumbling. His confidants are cutting deals. And the same federal agencies that built his case are now combing through entertainment sports transactions. If even one of those cooperating witnesses mentions LeBron's name, the fallout could reshape the NBA's image forever. And so, the question hangs in the air tonight. If Diddy's inner circle is flipping, what's stopping them from dragging LeBron down with them? Almost immediately after the headlines about Diddy's sentencing faded, his legal team started making noise again. This time, not in the courtroom, but through quiet warnings that there were untold secrets still sealed in federal files. We can see how carefully those words were chosen. They weren't about appealing his case. They were about leverage. People close to the situation say that behind those walls, Diddy has been talking. And the name he keeps circling back to, according to 2 reporters covering the case, is LeBron James. That's why the silence from LeBron's camp suddenly feels strategic. Not outrage, not denial, just calculation. When a man once described as his mentor hints at taking everyone down with him, staying quiet starts to look less like dignity and more like preparation. Sources within the U.S. Attorney's Office claim that agents are now reviewing financial documents that connect Diddy's entertainment companies to several professional athletes. Among them, investigators have flagged transactions labeled as consulting retainers, travel stipends, and event coordination running from 2019 through 2023. One of those line items for a private event in Los Angeles reportedly coincided with the same week LeBron appeared in a live stream celebrating Diddy's birthday. None of this proves wrongdoing, but it paints a timeline, and the FBI has made clear that every name in those ledgers will be examined. The difference now is that Diddy can no longer control the narrative.
Hey LeBron, how you doing tonight, man? Yo, you wish Diddy happy birthday, man? Where do you get the man that has everything, LeBron?
That possibility seems to be what Jaylen Brown is hinting at when he posts messages about the walls closing in. It isn't a joke anymore. Diddy's empire is crumbling. His confidants are cutting deals. And the same federal agencies that built his case are now combing through entertainment sports transactions. If even one of those cooperating witnesses mentions LeBron's name, the fallout could reshape the NBA's image forever. And so, the question hangs in the air tonight. If Diddy's inner circle is flipping, what's stopping them from dragging LeBron down with them? Almost immediately after the headlines about Diddy's sentencing faded, his legal team started making noise again. This time, not in the courtroom, but through quiet warnings that there were untold secrets still sealed in federal files. We can see how carefully those words were chosen. They weren't about appealing his case. They were about leverage. People close to the situation say that behind those walls, Diddy has been talking. And the name he keeps circling back to, according to 2 reporters covering the case, is LeBron James. That's why the silence from LeBron's camp suddenly feels strategic. Not outrage, not denial, just calculation. When a man once described as his mentor hints at taking everyone down with him, staying quiet starts to look less like dignity and more like preparation. Sources within the U.S. Attorney's Office claim that agents are now reviewing financial documents that connect Diddy's entertainment companies to several professional athletes. Among them, investigators have flagged transactions labeled as consulting retainers, travel stipends, and event coordination running from 2019 through 2023. One of those line items for a private event in Los Angeles reportedly coincided with the same week LeBron appeared in a live stream celebrating Diddy's birthday. None of this proves wrongdoing, but it paints a timeline, and the FBI has made clear that every name in those ledgers will be examined. The difference now is that Diddy can no longer control the narrative.
Did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA? But we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
Meanwhile, the tone from Diddy's prison contacts has shifted. When news broke that he woke up with a blade pressed to his throat inside the Metropolitan Detention Center, it sounded like a headline made for shock value. But when his longtime friend confirmed it to the Daily Mail and federal sources quietly verified the account, the story became something else, a warning. If someone wanted him silenced before he started naming names, that incident sent a message. We can't ignore the symbolism. A man once accused of controlling others, now trapped, threatened, and forced to choose between loyalty and survival. At the same time, Jaylen Brown has been escalating his own public attacks. What began as jokes on Twitch has turned into a steady drum beat of coded messages, phrases about masks falling, snakes being cornered, and truth season. Those who've spoken to him off camera describe him as convinced that the league protects its chosen ones and that his only weapon is exposure. It's a dangerous game, publicly challenging one of the NBA's most powerful icons while the feds comb through related evidence. Yet Brown seems undeterred. Each time he posts, LeBron's silence grows heavier, almost theatrical in its restraint.
And Diddy claimed that somebody held a knife to his throat. He woke up and this guy basically had him and he had the knife, and Diddy was at this person's mercy. Now, it's unclear what exactly happened from there. Was there a guard that came in? Did Diddy somehow fight this person off? Well, it seems unlikely that happened. Or did the person just leave? Bottom line, this guy, at least according to people close to Diddy and Diddy himself, could have hurt him badly or even taken his life.
Adding to the tension are the leaks coming from within Diddy's legal circle. Attorneys close to the case insist that high-profile witnesses are preparing to cooperate in exchange for lighter sentences. The implication is unmistakable. If any of those witnesses can connect Diddy's financial dealings or private events to prominent figures who look the other way, the consequences will ripple far beyond the music industry. In that scenario, LeBron's past attendance at Diddy's gatherings, long dismissed as harmless celebrity networking, suddenly becomes relevant evidence of proximity, motive, or at least knowledge. And then there's the financial thread tying it all together. Court filings reveal that several accounts under Diddy's control funneled money to entertainment consultants who also worked on NBA sponsorship campaigns. One of those consultants, now cooperating with authorities, handled both Combs Enterprises and a marketing venture partially financed by one of LeBron's foundations. It could all be coincidence, but prosecutors rarely believe in coincidences when timelines align so cleanly. Every new document, every text message, every digital payment increases the pressure on those who once sat comfortably on the outside.
It's probably leaning towards guilt. Now, on the racketeering, I agree with you that the predicate acts may be found, but that's not all they need. There's an ultimate question. The first question on the jury verdict form is, do you find him guilty or not guilty of racketeering? Before you even get to the predicate acts, which you only get to if you find guilt, they could just be hung up on that question and say, this guy's not Tony Soprano. I am not convinced that I even want to find guilt on the act.
As for Diddy, his post-sentencing conditions are strict. 5 years of supervised release, mandatory counseling, constant searches. Yet, insiders whisper that he's already dictating a tell-all manuscript through his attorneys, a project described as his version of the truth. If that manuscript includes the names of public figures who attended his so-called freak-off events or benefited from his connections, then the silence around LeBron begins to sound like fear. People in his orbit are reportedly warning him not to react, not to post, not to speak. The king has gone dark. The irony is impossible to miss. In court, the judge told Diddy that his crimes were about subjugation and control. Those words were meant as moral judgment, but they now hang over every name attached to his circle. If LeBron was part of that world, even unknowingly, what happens when the truth comes out? When the walls finally close in, will the world's most celebrated athlete be remembered for his records or for the secrets he never confessed? We've followed scandals before, but this one feels different. The music mogul behind bars, the athlete under scrutiny, the teammate turned whistleblower. It's the kind of collision that rewrites reputations. So we have to ask, if the files Diddy holds really name LeBron, how long can silence protect him? Let us know what you think below, because this story isn't finished. It's only getting louder. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and don't look